Hello everybody in modular land. I hope everybody's doing well. The good news is the Krellberg has landed. I've managed to make it all the way from BC, Canada, halfway around the world to Amsterdam and then on to Utrecht. I've had lots of inquiries on my social media feeds from other modular musicians wondering how it is that I'm able to travel with a patch, and I travel with some pretty big patches. It is a pretty specialized effort to be able to squeeze a patch into something that's small enough you can get on an airplane and travel with it. So I just wanted to give everybody a sense of what I've learned on the way, having done this a few times. So we're going to take a quick look at my case and how it is that I set things up so that I'm able to travel with all the gear in the safest possible way. So first I've got Krellberg stickers. For those of you on your way to Dutch Modular Fest, come find me, give me a shout out. I've got postcards from my Bandcamp page, complete with download codes on the back, so find me for some of those. And I got lots of that stuff while quantities last. And then here is the actual bag that was designed by Tip Top when they released the original Mantis case. And so it comes in a couple of different graphic variations, but it's actually a backpack. And so it has all the backpack stuff on the back of it. The case itself, the Mantis case, fills this completely. You know, once the Mantis case is in there, there's hardly any room, but the dimensions of this bag match perfectly with the dimensions for international travel on most airlines. But you always want to double check. I know that some of the manufacturers now are doing them a little bit wider, so a little bit bigger in this dimension, which is good because it gives you a little bit more room on the top of your case. But it's pretty easy when you get into some of the smaller aircrafts to run into limitations as to how big your bags are. And then what they want to do is pull your bag away from you and check, and that can be bad because if it isn't sealed in a heavy duty case, or if it undergoes lots of tossing around and there's other heavy baggage on top of it, it can pretty easily damage your equipment. So far I've been lucky that I've been able to always get my modular into the airplane. So what's inside of this? So typically when I'm traveling, of course, the modular goes in there, the actual Mantis case goes in there, but then there's a few other things that I pack in there. And in the original Mantis bag, there's a little pouch that opens up. And this white stuff is just some extra foam that I added for protection. But on the other side of that foam, I slip in some goodies to help make patching easier. But I'm also very conscious, I'm very aware of what needs to travel with me and not going to check luggage, especially in these days of so many baggage losses occurring. So it would be terrible to get to a gig and you've got your case, but you don't have your cables or anything else to set up your patch. So let's take a look at what I've got in here. So typically, because my memory is failing as I get older, I'll bring some manuals. So I've got printouts of parts of the module manuals that I might need. So there's some stuff from one of the Distings, there's some IntelliGel Quadrax stuff. So anything that I haven't really quite committed to memory, I'll bring with me in a manual. And that's just so I don't get into a situation where I don't have internet or fast enough internet to be able to pull it into my iPad or my phone if I'm off somewhere, some location getting set up or something. And then I've got the actual patching manual. And this has been the subject of some interesting questions. People are kind of fascinated by how it is that I do this and why. So first of all, the whys of it are that when I create a patch for a trip like Dutch Modular Fest, I'm creating a single piece of music that is performed by that instrument and that patch with my interactions. So it's incredibly important that when I move to another city and I set it up again, that it reacts in the same way and that it sounds the same way. So what I do then is, using an online tool like Modular Grid, I'll set up all the modules that I need for the patch once I've done a bunch of testing on my big system and I've got a good idea of how it is that I want it all to be arranged. And then what I do is I go and either draw in using modular grid, or in this case using color-coded pins because it's a color-coded patch, and I draw in layers of the cables. And I do this as I'm pulling it apart the first time. So when I'm in the rehearsal stage, like I have been for the last 2 months with Dutch Modular Fest, not only did I practice performing the patch itself, but I also practiced pulling the patch apart and then putting it together again to get a sense of how long that takes and what sort of things go wrong when I try to do that. So luckily it has always worked out for me that I've been able to recreate a patch exactly to get a patch to sound and react the same way after pulling all the cables out and then plugging them back in. So really it's a myth that you can't do that. You certainly can do that. You just have to be diligent about how you notate everything and what kind of note keeping you take. You can take pictures of your rig, or you can write down a description, and many of you might have good enough memory that you can just do it from scratch.